Normally, every election, I'm in favor of voting your heart and voting for idealism. In fact, that's how I do things. But we have a de facto, if not really declared, two-party system that we've gotten used to in this country, and that needs to be destroyed. The trouble is, this year isn't a really good time to do it. There's talk of creating a unity party or some other variation of it. There are several different versions of this I've heard of, but one or two are more popular to talk about. And they're a good idea in any other year. If you have three parties, all things being equal, you will split the vote three ways. Donald Trump, as a president, not the Republican Party and your local elections. We're talking just about the presidency. Donald Trump won with less than 50% of the vote. He did not win half the votes. Because our system is made to where that can happen if certain states are given the right to do so. It's based on them having populations that are a little harder to designate based on, well, actually it's mostly based on districting and gerrymandering, but we won't go into that. But the point is, Donald Trump won the election when over half of the people who voted against him. If you split this three ways, I can guarantee you he will be elected with less than 50% of the consent of the people. I'd love to have a third party any other year, but the point is, it's not about the Republican Party. It's not even about the Democrat or Republican Party or any of this crap. It's not about this continuous false dichotomy. It's about the President of the United States being a symbol to a large number of people that ignorance, arrogance, and absolutely defying facts works. This is a very bad precedent and president. During the election, you, me, and everybody else is still going to be dealing with COVID-19. I have no faith in it going away by the time the election happens. And if it does, it'll be a lie. It'll come back. Because that's what's probably going to happen. I'm done, all right? I do not want this idiot running the country because he makes it to where people feel it's normalized to come out of the closet about being stupid on purpose. And then the thing is, this very tiny minority of the population, let's say this entire screen is all the Republicans in the United States. These assholes represent this little dot over here, but because they're so fucking loud, we have people in Florida deciding not to leave it shut down when it was working. Not to wear a mask. Donald Trump standing up there dead-ass saying wearing a mask is not a medical issue, it's a political statement, when he's a fucking idiot saying it. And some of you agree with him. Because you are willing to look at the fact that that is simply not true, ignore it, and say, well, it's more like a political thing. No, it's not. It's a matter of not spreading a fucking disease. I, like everybody else, laughed at Donald Trump. That's what he wanted when he was getting elected. No one thought he was going to get elected. And on a technicality level, he didn't. He wasn't given consent by the majority of the people. The people did not get to decide as a group, population, or a mob vote, which is what I prefer. But that's irrelevant now. What's relevant is the only way he could win is if everyone doesn't have to make a decision. And that decision on the political level isn't between Republican and Democrat. It's not a false dichotomy. Do you or do you not want to leave President Trump in charge? President Trump, as a human being, the way he is your ideology and belief system and religion and political bent and how you think society should work. Do you want Donald Trump to run the country? And we need to know that answer. It doesn't matter what the ideal is, because the ideal would split it three ways, and you can guarantee Donald Trump will get slightly more of the electoral vote. Maybe even slightly more of the popular vote. I wouldn't be surprised if he got a minority of the popular vote, but still won, even though it's split three ways, making it overtly obvious that less than half the population wants him elected. Empowering a minority of the population to make decisions for the rest of us has already happened. This would make it a gross, absolute in-our-face injustice that would drive us to dissolve the two-party system and get rid of the electoral college as soon as possible. I'm not sure that that's a good idea, but I definitively know that that will happen. And if you split it three ways, we'll have to make that damn decision while this idiot's in charge, because he will be at that point. But this is an election that's going to be about something very different. You're going to have to sit there and not have an easy out where you don't have to make this thought process. Do you really believe that Donald Trump should be president? That is literally the only thing going on. It doesn't matter who's running against him. Nobody gives a shit that it's the idiot, the other idiot from the other party. No one gives a damn. As of today's date, whether Huge Hands wants to admit to the fake news, aka actually asking us what we want voted for, he is not going to win the election if it was held today. Unless every state, and they are trying to do this, makes sure that very few people are allowed to vote unless they voted consistently over the last 10 years. That's the criteria. They don't want you voting because you're a new voter. They don't want you coming out of college and voting. They want to disenfranchise people by making it harder to vote. And they're very specific about the group of people they want to do that to. People who would vote against Trump. Every state's doing it. Democrats have done this too. Don't you ever think the Democratic Party hasn't rigged elections that way by disenfranchising people? Demanding that people not be able to vote easily is how this is done. And no, voter fraud is not widespread. That is a lie. It's not a discussion anymore. We've had that argument for over 4 years now. None of you have ever produced any real proof of it. And no, bringing up one lie after another or one faked video after another doesn't fucking cut it anymore. No one's listening to you anymore. We've gotten used to the word fake news being screamed by one side when something's stated as a fact and confirmable. The majority of the population that isn't this noisy corner over here on the right-wingers, or these left-wingers over here, that's a noisy population that may be bigger or smaller depending on what week it is. Neither of these little piddly-ass assholes has any power over anybody else's thinking anymore. Because we've all been lied to enough times before and after the 2016 election that most of us, the majority, the silent majority of us, that aren't Republican or Democrat, we're just Americans, are very much aware of the fact that it's a lie. And the only way this is going to get fixed is if we quietly and, more importantly, in secret ballot mode, which a lot of you really are furious about. That's the other thing. The United States uses a secret ballot for a reason. It's so that you can't fuck with people in revenge. That's the law. Get over it. The silent majority of people have to be forced to go to the polls because of a very bad decision they have to make. Most people, the majority of people in this country, don't vote. It's over 50%. So we're up to here of people who do not vote. The rest of these people floating on the top, the floater turds, are the ones who vote. They get to make the decision every year. Less than half the population's always made this decision. If you have a president that is this divisive, more divisive than Hillary Clinton could ever make it, because of his behavior, because of his record, because of the fact that he cannot delete his tweets fast enough to keep us from archiving them, his constant chronic record of doing a specific type of mindset is going to get on people's nerves or be what they love. And unfortunately, you're going to be dealing with people who are in outrage mode who will vote for the first times in their lives and are going to vote against Donald Trump. The polls are based on those people promising they'll vote. If you make this more complicated by having 3 parties to choose from, he will definitely win. Because the people who are already going to vote for him, that is just less than half of this population down here, or up here, excuse me, that voted, will still vote for him. Because they are part of a population that knows that all they have to do is the same thing they did last time and they'll win. That's all they care about. They obviously picked him last time, and a majority of them, a vast majority, will still vote for him. Meanwhile, the very large majority of people right now, but it's not that large, are going to vote against him. Only if they register to vote and actually vote. And I'm screaming at myself here. I don't like voting. No one does. It's a pain in the butt. And it's made more of a pain in the butt in certain areas where they know that new voters will absolutely vote against him. People who go to the polls on a regular basis vote the same way every time. You don't have to think about them. It's the new voters that must be stopped. Both parties would do this. Don't you ever forget that. So any area that it's made slightly tougher for you to vote, you have to register as soon as possible, and you have to get ready to vote. Everybody else, local or statewide, you have to pick when you do the ballot the whole thing. Yeah, I know that sounds amazing. You have to fill out the ballot completely. Everything has to have a check mark, and you better make sure it's the way you want it to be. And the first thing you're going to think of if you're an idealist is, well, I'm not going to pick party. No one cares how you vote for anything else. No one gives a shit. Just vote. Well, I have to think about it. No, actually you don't. You don't have to think about how you're going to vote. Pick which group. Stop acting like you're not going to anyway. Stop acting like that's morally wrong. Which group of people props up the most annoying thing? Vote against them. That's it. It won't matter because you'll be nullified by another person who thinks the opposite way. But when it comes to the presidency, this isn't really a discussion. Do you or do you not want him to be the president again? That's the only thing you're deciding. Well, I'm going to vote because no. Do you or do you not want President Trump to be president again? At all. Period. Most people just say, I go with the flow, let him be president again. The majority of people, the vast majority of people up here in the floaty, always say, just leave him in there. An incumbent president is very likely to get elected as long as they don't do something massively screwed up. And this is the problem. Donald Trump has the following characteristics that I'm voting against him for. This is where I'm getting to my opinion. He chronically lies about shit that is petty. Now, this is forgiven by one group of people because it's petty. It's not really meaningful. He says shit that has no real effect on things. But he also, in a very petty way, lies about whether or not he said something that was wrong. Like, you can use light and bleach to kill off a disease. Oh, he was making a joke. No, he wasn't making a joke. He lied about making a joke. He does this constantly. And once you get used to that being the norm, everything he says is a joke. Which means you're agreeing with me that he's making petty statements just to aggravate and rattle people's cages. That's what you want as a president. That's great. Now I want you to look at what happened with every other country. He told Mexico they're going to pay for a wall. He's sucking the cock of the Russians and the Chinese. This is your president. He went through and meticulously looked for anything Obama had put in place and removed it because his entire point of becoming president was vengeance. Righteous vengeance? Again, is this the president you want to keep doing the same shit for the next 4 years? Next, oh my God, the big problem here. The conspiracy theory that the disease was created, COVID-19, to keep him from being elected, or an acknowledgement that his handling of it proves he shouldn't be president. These are decisions you and me and everybody else has to make. I'm not making decisions based on that. He won't stop saying things that are not true. That is a gigantic deal breaker for me. That means I can't trust him because, by definition, he's an inveterate fucking liar. No. That's why. Nothing else. He could defund the country. He could defund NAFTA or whatever. He could do all the things. He just put it on a bumper sticker. I'm just throwing up words that I've seen in the comment section on a couple of channels. He opposed the New World Order. Whatever. He lies constantly. There's no way to trust what he has to say. I can't believe what he says, and he acknowledges that everything he says, he will eventually just say, oh, that was a joke. Meaning you can't believe what he's saying and you don't know what's going on with the guy. If this is what you want, if you think this is 4D chess, simply a person who won't admit that he was wrong or lying. Somebody who's afraid to show us his tax returns because it shows him not being a successful businessman. His ego and his image, his public image, is so fucking important to him. He'll fiddle while we burn. That's why he shouldn't be president. Nothing else. Well, you're being petty. No, I'm talking about his core value. He doesn't have it. One of them. Honesty. Biden's not much better than the worst person you've ever met or maybe the best. He's pretty average. But he's not a flaming, insufferable, agonizingly annoying, smug, little lying shit. Like every one of you really does hate. Well, he's our lying shit. We like him. Yeah, but really, you want that personality type running the country. This is the way he's been the entire time. It's like finding out about what's his name that didn't kill himself. We find out years later what he's really like. We now know what Trump is like. We're seeing him without any filter. This isn't a person you would let marry your daughter. This isn't a person you trust with your finances. This isn't a person you trust because he lies all the time. Having a third party will make it too easy for him to be elected. Right now I want him out of office because he's dangerous. The rest of the Republican Party I couldn't give a shit about. They're fine. Every year we get pretty much normal people. They may act crazy, but they're usually normal. Trump wasn't acting. He really is that insufferable little shit that he played himself out to be. He's that spoiled little rich kid who got everything handed to him, didn't have to work, and lies about his failures all the time. And if you want that man to be president, you will get the country you deserve. Splitting it 3 ways isn't going to make it easier to make that decision or force you to make a harder one. Good day.